Russian forces have attacked and occupied Ukraine. For what reason? In this modern, globalized and interconnected world, no one needs to be afraid anymore. Therefore, Russia's fear that Ukraine is too close to Russia as a Western-oriented state is simply unfounded. The whole world has moved closer together in the last 2 decades through trade, health, education, understanding and liberalization. And the result can be felt everywhere. In the climate agreement, for example, even countries with different forms of government were ready to participate in this great change. It seems that Mr. Putin has fallen back on the path of expansionist policies of the Soviet Union's former kind. The big bear is reaching for you. Countries were attacked, and also occupied, under flimsy justifications, or so-called cries for help, in order to expand the Soviet Union, just to get more power and influence. For the legacies of Soviet thinking are still omnipresent. We think of the events after the Second World War. August 1968, the Prague Spring, former Czechoslovakia, CSSR. The popular uprising in the former GDR, on the 17th of June 1953, where tanks of the former Warsaw Pact were used against the protesting people. Afghanistan in early December 1979. And then Crimea in March 2014. To name just a few. World history shows a lot of such strategic practices. These countries were given puppet governments, all loyal to the Soviet Union. All the democratic procedures of these governments were manipulated, not genuine, according to the terms of the Soviet Union. The idea that Mr. Putin has been working towards this for a long time by selling raw materials and energy cheaply to Europe and the world, thus tying these countries to Russia, in order to be able to put them under pressure now, is not absurd. Hence the question, whether the reports from Donbass are correct and true, which Mr. Putin has used as an occasion. Now Mr. Putin is showing the world his true colors, in dealing with his neighboring countries, and he is showing the world his personal fear of losing power and influence. Russia did not attack Ukraine. Mr. Putin did. Therefore, do not blame the people from Russia living peacefully in the world for this. The Russian people are not fully provided with truthful information. And the new law, banning real journalism directly from Russia, shows Putin's fear of turning the Russian people against himself. Even the banning of words like war, occupation, attack, aggression, shows this fear. Also, the heavy fines imposed on rallies and demonstrations show that Mr. Putin wants to maintain control, as in a totalitarian state. The definition of fake news has been familiar and in our minds since Donald Trump. But it now has a whole new meaning: censorship, disrespect, and misinformation of the Russian people. Fortunately, in an age of satellites, internet, and mobile phones, it is not easy to withhold or distort information as propaganda was able to do in earlier years. In the meantime, the whole world, with the exception of some countries, is declaring sanctions against Russia, even if they have disadvantages on their side. There are about 40 countries so far. Because this is currently the only measure that can be taken today without escalating the crisis worldwide. So Europe, and the rest of the world, show their disfavor to Mr. Putin. We all want to stop Mr. Putin. But we all also want to prevent a new world war. We do not want to absolve the other countries of the world that have been involved in acts of war, but they have learned, developed, and seized the opportunity to build a common world. Nevertheless, the question arises, will Mr. Putin stop then? After that, there might be new countries bordering Russia with the same danger for Russia with the Western allies. Why did it work so far with other countries bordering Russia that joined NATO without problems? Such as Norway, Estonia, Latvia? What about that little piece of Russia with Kaliningrad, between Poland and Lithuania? Belarus is actually already part of Russia, similar to a satellite state. Russia's threats against Montenegro's accession to NATO also show this. Why does NATO still have to exist at all? Who is afraid of whom? Is NATO still up to date? founded on 4th of April 1949? It is a construct of the Cold War, which is already over. Isn't it? Although Ukraine was a co-founder of the Soviet Union at the time, 30th of December 1922. Today, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, it is an open, free, independent and democratic country that wants to join the community of Europe and the world. Even if there are still many things to be discussed and settled, the path is the right one. For this reason alone, we condemn Mr. Putin's current actions in the strongest possible terms. I am glad that most countries in the world are opposing this move by Mr. Putin. Together, we can end this war and change Russia's leadership so that Russia can also be part of the common world in the future. I am sure that we can find a way to resolve this situation by diplomacy and achieve peaceful coexistence. It is a complicated situation, but I hope that a peaceful solution can be found. So I will pray for the people of Ukraine, and my thoughts are with them.